Hey guys, what up? It is I think 9 o'clock on a Thursday. The sun is shining. No, I'm just teasing. First of all, my hair looks super cute today. Isn't that nice? And second of all, I just finished Duty or Desire by Brenda Taylor. And guess what? No surprise, he chose both. I'm so glad it's finally over. Like, I wanted to like it, like I'm thinking, okay, this is an established woman of color who's making interracial, like, romances. Bitch loves to see it. But, dear Lord, was I not enjoying myself. I definitely understand that there's always, in any form of literature or art, highbrow and lowbrow entertainment, and that one should recognize and enjoy it for its own merits based off the intended quality and consumption, just like I'm eating a cheap banana nut muffin that I bought at the convenience store. And though this is not going to be as good as a really tasty banana nut muffin that I buy from a bakery or from Costco. Not bad. It tastes like banana. It has nuts on it. And so it's like, on the one hand, I wasn't expecting a lot, but I was still disappointed. I think the main issue is this: there wasn't a lot of substance to the book, right? It was a lot of surface level talking about them being in a relationship, a couple sex scenes that honestly I only was half listening to because I was in the store and I just like had my headphones in, and he's just like, "That's right, baby, I love you. I'm not wearing a condom. It's okay, I'm on the pill. Oh my goodness, your tits are delicious." And I'm like, why? Like, literally, why did you have to mention what her tits tasted like? Like, if this wasn't erotica, if this was, like, one of those, like, things, I could understand, but just that one line bothered me. And so we find out what happens. I'm going to spoil it a little because, honestly, you will not see it coming. And so basically what happens is her brother comes to town because her brother, like myself this week, is a giant profligate because I wanted to use an old-timey word for some reason. And basically he wants to, like, take control of her company or whatever, and he comes to town because you find out he's going to kidnap her and take her to some secret Caribbean island to drug her and get the access to the company, and I'm just like, okay, like, why? And you don't see any of this, right? You literally get told this after the fact, after, like, the guy that was going to kidnap her gets arrested. Maybe I missed it because I tuned out a lot to this book, but, like, a lot of shit happens in this book off screen, and I'm thinking, Brenda Taylor, this book would be so much more interesting if you actually talked about the things that they did, instead of saying, oh, they went, like, on a girls' weekend, and then she got back and talked about her girls' weekend. And I'm thinking, Brenda Taylor, like, yeah, you're decent at dialogue, but, like, maybe you could write a scene where people do things, and not just tell me they were going to do things, and then cut to after they did the things and talk some more. That's pretty much the entire book. And another issue was that it was a whirlwind romance. It was insta-love. And I'm just like, okay, maybe, like, you go on a vacation and you get some good quality top shelf dick, right? And it's just super hot and heavy. That sounds like a fun time. It's nothing serious. But then it's like, we get shit like this where they're not even together, like, for a full year and they already want to get married. Yeah, they get married at the end of the book. So here's how it works out. About 6 months before the story happens, he gets, a free baby because his brother and sister-in-law die. He essentially becomes, like, super invested in the kid, becomes a great dad, gets a nanny, they get, like, this great rapport. Somewhere else, like, the chick comes to town for some reason. Apparently knows everyone in this fucking town for some reason, since even though she's, like, a straight up newcomer. And she, like, is also getting a PhD in child psychology, like some lady who cares about kids. And I'm trying to think. And basically she has a 1 year to, like, live in this town. And you're thinking, okay, they're going to, like, come together over the year. It's going to get really sultry. Nah, bitch. Basically, you get 4 chapters of them saying, I don't like that hot piece of ass, but secretly they do. And everyone's just like, hey, maybe you should like make out with your nanny. Like, and secretly he's like, that sounds like a good idea, but I'm not going to do that. But then he like just straight up like Frenches her mouth after eating some peach cobbler in like the most boringest scene involving desserts and food. And I'm getting off point. It basically like they wait till like there's like 2 months left of her living in town before they kiss. And then literally at the end of like, these 2 months before she's off to like, go beat shit up. And I really thought that like, halfway through the book, she was gonna go down, like destroy Baron. The guy was gonna find out about Baron, and she's gonna be like, hey, I need your help as a lawman to like, help me like defeat my brother. And then he was like gonna go into like her section of life, and she was gonna get more backstory, and then they were gonna have like some sort of like ending stuff like that didn't have to deal with like the centralized conflict set up at the beginning. I thought that was gonna be like resolves halfway through the book, and then there's gonna be like a secondary conflict which was gonna bring them closer together, or maybe like the climax was like a literal climax. I don't know, like something like cool like that, like a good book. But no, literally they just overblown all the interesting, like literally in the last chapter they overblow all like the centralized conflict, just resolve it like that, like so easily, and like, oh, they don't have problems anymore. He realizes he has to stop blaming himself for like his fiance's death, and she realizes that she could have just called the cops on her brother who's really shitty, and it's like, there you go, they don't have problems anymore, now they can just get down to fucking. And I'm like, that wasn't satisfying. I got a point. Basically, they waited 2 months to like, start dating, like actually like, act on their physical attraction to each other. And at the end of those 2 months, it's just like, I love you, let's get married. And I'm thinking, bitch, what? You just met this chick. You don't need to get married after 2 months of fucking her. That's ridiculous. It's like one of those John Wayne movies, and I'm talking about one of the really early ones in his career that are only like 30 minutes long, where like he meets some random chick, and it's the only girl in the entire fucking movie. And at the end of the movie, John Wayne, like, the sexy, hot, young cowboy, just marries this like other hot chick for no reason other than like, you had to have some sort of scene and like, that thing. And so it was like, why are they getting married? I can understand if he was just like, hey, I love you, can we continue this relationship after you get back from like whatever? But no, bitch is getting married. I'm like, that's unreasonable. Maybe like actually court her and live together like, for a little bit to make sure that she doesn't like, do dumb shit when she eats. I mean, to be fair, they were already living together, but like, honestly, and it's just, I didn't like it because there was no real conflict in the entire book, and there was really no interesting character development either. And I love that my hand, I keep just like, putting my hand in front of like the thing and just like messing that up because that's quality YouTube content. So I need to get out of here because I have to get to work, and so I'm going to put on, what was it called? Such a Fun Age. Actually get into my 3rd audiobook. I am slamming it, and I'll try to finish the Elusive Miss Polyfax sometime today or tomorrow. So, there you go. So guys, last time you saw me, I think it was sometime this morning. It's about 8:30 right now, and I thought I'd just give you kind of like, a midday update for me of how the reading's going. So, like I said, I finished Duty or Desire sometime this morning. I hated it, but I started Such a Fun Age by... oh, I forgot her name, but I'm really enjoying the book. That's what I want to tell you guys. Sorry if I'm a little spacey. I'm kind of tired today. I don't know why, but I've been tired like all day. And that's just like kind of what's happening to me. But let's talk about Such a Fun Age, because like I said, I'm enjoying the book. I think about 4 chapters in, and I think it's really funny. And I love the characters. Like, every single one of the characters is so dynamic. And there's such fleshed out female characters to boot that it's probably one of my favorite books that I've been reading this time. So it's like, I'm pretty sure I said I was interested in reading it in like my 5 new releases video. And now that I've actually cracked it open, it is so good. Basically what happens in the book that I've read so far is that there's a nanny named Amira, and she basically got accosted by this rent-a-cop at, like, you know, the Whole Foods because he was a fucking racist. And the whole, like, you know, scene that happens is almost like it is so reminiscent of those sort of, like, you know, freak out videos you see on Reddit where they're like, I'm gonna call the man, like, you know, some Karen is like, I'm gonna call the manager, and the other lady's just like, bitch, you don't own me. And it's so fantastic because I love Amira as a character. You get into sort of, like, you know, the mom and into her perspective, and it's just as interesting. And I usually have a really hard time connecting with usually, like, you know, upper class or upper middle class characters because I hate rich people. But I really love her list of personality, and has such an interesting sort of, I guess she has interesting conflicts. She has, like, interesting life, and it just works. So the characters are really good. The story and dialogue is really good. Like, I have not met a character except for the fucking rent-a-cop who I have not absolutely loved in this, like, you know, book. And considering that, like, you know, the last audiobook I listened to, I was so fucking bored with, like, the boring ass characters who did nothing but keep talking. I'm just like, I put on, like, such an age, and I'm just like, please keep talking. I love everything you're saying. I love the dialogue, and I'm having a fun time with it. I'm probably not going to finish it during the reading rush just because I don't feel like, you know, slamming it through. I have, like, you know, 5 days to, like, read it, so I'm reading in the car and just enjoying myself. And, like, just had that sort of, like, in my audio for my commute. So what I did, like, you know, from the last time you saw me was I went to work. It was long. It was boring. I was super tired for some reason, probably because I keep getting up really early. And so I wasn't really, like, you know, all there. But, you know, we busted shit out. It was busy, but it was, like, the annoying kind of busy where, like, you're not so busy that you, like, need to really, really focus on what you're doing. We're not, like, super rushed or slammed. But it was, like, busy enough that you couldn't get away from the line to actually, like, you know, prep or wash dishes. And we had just the worst fucking dish pit today. It was terrible. So, like, you know, I said to myself, Ryan, even though you've been kind of a profligate, because once again, I want to use the word profligate. It is a fun, freaking, fucking word, okay? At me in the comments. And so, like, you know, I would say, like, you know, Ryan, you just have yourself a beer. It is Friday. You want to drink more beer. You're going to drink more beer. You're going to enjoy yourself and be a freaking adult that's allowed to enjoy some small pleasures in life, some of which encounter drugs and alcohol. And so, like, you know, I bought myself a beer. I went to the bank, cashed a check, and I got gas. So, like, you know, cool, fun errands and shit. And I just, like, you know, went home, mowed the lawn, and I said, like, okay, Ryan, you've done enough of your life that you deserve to drink yourself a shower beer. I'm not the biggest shower beer person, if we're being honest. I usually drink hard liquor, like I say to people. Though I realize I don't mention my drinking habits on my YouTube channel, but yeah. I tend to prefer hard liquor when I drink, but, you know, I've been trying to get into sort of wine and beer more because I think as a cook it's important to understand food and beverage, especially the beverage side. And that's definitely one of the parts of, like, you know, I guess my gastronomical experience that I want to expand. So today, this is hashtag not sponsored, I tried the Oakshire Overcast Espresso Stout. Wow, I forgot the name of that for a second. I actually really liked it. It was interesting. I've never had a stout before. If you don't know, stouts are one of the more darker forms of beer. And even though we literally had a class on this in culinary school, I can literally not tell you what exactly differentiates a stout from other types of beer. What I know about this is that, first of all, it's darker. It has a less intense hop, I guess, flavor. And it has some notes of espresso and oatmeal, which is supposed to be like the whole big thing. I thought it was really interesting. So one thing I noticed is that every time I drink a beer, I'm always really conscious about the hop level. IPAs are very intense on their hoppiness. I actually think that's the real term. While other beers I've had a few other ales which have a sort of moderate amount of hops. It's there, but you're allowed to taste some of the other flavor. This was actually a very different sort of, I guess, taste when it comes to, like, you know, the hoppiness. Because remember that, like, you know, taste has the forefront, sort of the sustained middle, and then the aftertaste, which are basically the three elements of when we're tasting something, right? So when you first taste something, you can get really strong notes, and then as you continue sort of dissolving the flavors in your mouth through, like, the process of eating, you will be able to taste other sort of elements of the dish or of the drink or of whatever. So starting off this, you get this sort of very dark, almost like, I don't want to say caramel, but I think, like, they described it like espresso and oatmeal, which I think is actually a really good sort of indicator. The espresso portion of it is sort of that dark bitterness of the bean type style, while the oatmeal is more of a flat, almost grainy taste. It doesn't taste like, exactly like oatmeal or exactly like espresso, but those sort of descriptors can definitely have a sort of, I guess, analogy for the flavors tasted. And then the hop note is kind of similar to how you would think of a mixed drink, where you would have the alcohol taste be sort of the back liner of the, I guess, sensation, with the sweetness of the soda mixing in at the front of the taste. So here, the sort of espresso oatmeal notes are what is hitting you at the front with this sort of dark, heavy, and intense taste, while the hoppiness, the sort of bitterness, is actually at the back of the tongue, sort of rounding out the flavor. Hopefully that explains it well. I actually really enjoy this. I've never tried a stout before, but it's definitely much up my alley in sort of beer-wise. My favorite beer I ever had was a wit beer, which is apparently an unfermented wheat-based beer, which I'm not sure if that's accurate or if I misunderstood, like, how my coworkers explained to me, because, like, she's a bartender, so she would know, And so it was really interesting. So that was a fun experience. Now that we've gone past that, let's talk about the other book I read today. I'm on chapter 8 on Elusive Mrs. Polyphex. I'm loving it. I'm going to, after I eat dinner, I'm going to just, kind of sit here, play some maybe, indie music on my YouTube. I'm starting to really enjoy, reading, listening to music while I'm reading, because it sort of just puts me in this sort of, aesthetical mood, if that makes sense. Maybe I'll film, a couple minutes of me reading later on today, but yeah, so let's actually talk about what the book's about. Basically, Miss Polyphex has gotten to town. She has arrived in Bulgaria. And sort of the main thing of interest is, because she has not yet established any contact with the Bulgarian underground, is sort of the subplot. And that is that there is this boy by Peter something. Basically, he is a American hitchhiker. He's, studying abroad in Europe. And he's basically been arrested by the Bulgarian police while they stay there. And while I have read the book, it's really, really sus, how his circumstances came here. Because basically there was this other hitchhiker or, traveler named Nikki, or Nikai, I'm not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced, who basically just pretty much badgered all of the people to come to Bulgaria, and the second they get there, the guy gets arrested, and Nikai is, super suspicious. He's super sus. And so there's definitely something, going on with him. He probably works for the government. I'm just saying. Anyway, so basically, she's working to help this girl named Debbie, who's also an American, I guess, exchange person, traveler. She's, the chick on the motorcycle on the cover, so that's Debbie, and this is Miss Polyphex wearing a hat because she's a bad bitch. And, they're just, living their best life. And that's one of the things I really love about the Miss Polyphex series, is that basically Gilman doesn't really worry about, having a close off subplot and plot in books, right? A lot of the times the subplot is really just a different investigatory thread that actually ties in surprisingly with the main storyline a lot of times. Because it's not so much as someone having a singular focus and then there's somebody else having action on the side. It's more that, everything occurs concurrently in the world, and it's really Miss Polyphex shifting her focus and doing something else, which usually turns out to benefit her in the long run. This is actually a really great example of how she will do that, how she'll use a subplot to actually create the plot. But generally I love it because Miss Polyphex is generally a very empathetic and caring person as a character. And since Gilman has such a strong ability to write characters, many different characters, I think it really suits the ways that she structures her plots to like have stuff like that. So I think that's one thing I love about like, you know, the books itself is that there's always a centralized mission for her because she's a spy, but she'll basically take on these side quests which just shit goes down and shit gets good. And that's what I love about these books is that they always just blow up into like these incidental, like international incidents, and then Miss Polyphex just like shows up like 3 weeks later and she's just like, hey, what fam, yeah, I did accidentally like, you know, cause the like, you know, People's Rebellion and find the lost city of El Dorado. Anyway, I need to get home back to like, you know, growing geraniums off my balcony, so thanks. You know, it's like one of those like old lady mysteries, but it's like old lady spy novels, so we stand. Anyway, guys, I want to eat dinner, and then I want to, like, you know, actually, like, you know, read some of my books. So, we're going to have fun today. I'm not, like, you know, too, I guess, pressured to read right now since I've already finished a book today. So, technically, like, I'm still, like, you know, on track. But I'm just enjoying myself. I'm really enjoying reading this week. So, I'm really glad that I, like, did this. And we're just going to have fun with this. Hey guys, so it's about I think 9:30, so I've read for about an hour, and you know, I just had like, you know, a nice time. I'm about 75% of the way through the book and on my like 15th bookmark because I keep managing to lose these damn things, but I'm actually really enjoying the story. Basically, so she was in the country, there was a murder attempt, she got a free teenager, and they're like sort of like, you know, thinking, should we break into this old mental asylum, which is secretly a prison for political prisoners, and like take out all of the political prisoners with us? And they're like, you know, they're debating that right now, which that's what we like to see, fam. I really enjoyed, like, you know, I love these stories just because like the way they escalate, and this is just some grade A, like, top-notch shit. Anyway, guys, I'm kind of done with reading for today. You know, I've been reading, like, you know, all week, and so, you know, I think it's going to be, like, you know, I've made good progress today, and I'm just going to enjoy, like, you know, the rest of my evening. Maybe watch a movie, or play some video games. I haven't decided yet, but just do some stuff before bed to relax. Tomorrow, I don't think I have anything big planned. I think I need to, let's see, make some calls, pay some bills, you know. Hopefully deal with some of the brush in my yard because I have so much of it, and I want to make sure that it's, like, you know, sort of somewhere else before, like, you know, it dries out and catches on fire because it's brush and we have really hot summers in Medford. And make an angel food cake. So, you know, it's like action-packed day because apparently I never rest or relax in my life, and I'm just constantly going. Okay, guys, this is Thursday out. This is like, I guess, officially halfway through the week, and I think I'm doing pretty good considering that I finished, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 books already out of 7. And I've already started, like, everyone except for the last one, so I got this. Yeah. Go me. My first readathon. I'm fucking killing it. So, guys, keep watching. Hey, guys, what's up? Oh, why do I keep sneezing? Hey guys, what's up? So, it's about 5:30 right now in the afternoon, and I just really haven't been vlogging today, you know? But, you know, for like the first time in like, you know, a little while, I finally had a day off to myself. I could sleep in. So that's what I did. Woke up around 9, ate breakfast, did what I had to do. Then from then I was doing some yard work. It was literally just me listening to Such a Fun Age on audiobook. So I was like, you know, doing some yard work, and I actually got the most wicked sunburn from that, which I might as well just show you, because, you know, what's the point of being a vlogger if I don't tell you every little detail of my life? So, as you can see, I have the worst sunburn right there. Now showing you the skin and actually getting on to what I read today. So, if you're wondering why I'm wearing this outfit, I'm actually planning on doing sort of an Instagram post for my Duty or Desire book. So, if you don't follow me on Instagram, basically what I do is, if I'm listening to an audiobook, I'll download the cover image, and then I'll usually find some sort of photo I have in my photo reel, or I'll take like a specific like sort of texture photo, basically a sort of a photo that isn't so much a subject, but rather some sort of texture. Like, for instance, when I did I'll Be Gone in the Dark, I took a photo of a sort of wooden wall in my backyard. I changed to black and white, and then I used that as sort of the kind of backstep almost for the photo cover, and that's how I made that collage. And I'll try to put a picture of it right there to show you what I mean. So since Duty or Desire was a kind of westerny book, it wasn't specifically a western romance, but Brenda Taylor has this biggest hard-on for cowboys, apparently. I basically decided to dress in an outfit which was the closest I had to being western, which was a somewhat western button-up and my headband, which I'm pretty sure used to belong on a cowboy hat. So that's about as close as I get to dressing like Hee-Haw Cowboy. You're welcome. The good news is that despite my ramblings and getting to, I think it was chapter 9 or 10 in Such a Fun Age, quick update on that. I'm loving it. It's super funny. I love all the characters. Let's see. The rich white woman, she reminds me of this one character from this TV show I once watched, but I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But one thing I definitely enjoy about Such a Fun Age is that there's very understated subtext, sort of race and class and stuff like that. And I'm actually really, really enjoying it. One thing I definitely like is that our main character, Amira, is middle class. And so it's just an interesting, like, you know, look, since I feel a lot of times when we talk about class and class disparity, it's usually a difference between, I guess, extreme poverty and extreme wealth. And so the characters are a bit more middle ground, and they're all a lot more relatable than I expect them to be. Especially since, like, you know, the characters, like, discuss sort of their perceptions of richness and affluence and, like, a lot of other things. And so it's really interesting because it's a very non-negative look at things, you know? They discuss these things, but it's also something that is not incredibly derisive, which I like. Considering that, like, as a person, like, you know, as an individual, I definitely have, I think, a lot of resentment towards, like, you know, the upper and middle class, mostly just because I've lived my life in, like, you know, maybe upper lower class if we're being modest. And so it's like, for me, I do feel a bit put out by a lot of, I guess, more well-off people who I kind of find out of touch with my reality. So it's like, sometimes I do have a hard time relating to more wealthier characters, but I definitely do like these characters, and I definitely enjoy sort of the commentary that the book has for society in general. It's not it's not a book that is really intended to be the most socially commenting. It's really more a look into these characters and how they interact, and I'm just really enjoying it. It's a lot funner than I was expecting, which sounds weird since, first of all, it has the word fun in the title, and second of all, it's a book that the premise is literally like a super fucked up thing that happens in a Kroger's, but I'm really enjoying everything about it. Like, all of the characters are just so well written and so interesting in their own right that it's such a satisfying book. I love it. But the book that I actually finished today, which I should actually talk about, that's The Elusive Mrs. Polyphax. So I just finished this. I'll probably say this is probably the third time I've reread this. I don't reread it as much as my other ones in the series, mostly just because it's a bit tattered. And give me a second, actually. So, just to actually show you a comparison before we actually get into what I liked about the book itself, I want to talk about the edition. So, this appears to be a 4-set chest edition. I've never heard of that publisher, but obviously this was a mass market paperback, right? It's not in good condition in the slightest, and I don't actually see any publication information about it in the sort of thing. So, it's real basic. I actually do like the way that I guess the cover and back cover was made. It's definitely there's definitely a bit more blurb to it, I guess, But as it goes, it's not my favorite printings of this book. My favorite printings, and also the ones that sort of drew me into this series, is the Doubleday Book Club editions, which are what I'm looking for. This is one of the few series that I've been trying to collect since forever, along with the Time Life International Food cookbooks. But the Doubleday Book Club editions are hardback, obviously, and they also have these beautiful dust jackets. So as you can see, this is just very plain, very basic, I guess, book cover. But then this is what the jacket looks like. And some people, they take their book jackets off. I think that's dumb, because the book jacket is part of sort of the packaging, is part of the sort of the, I guess, aesthetic of the book. And it's like, why would you take off this beautiful, shiny cover to be playing a plain-ass, boring-ass book, Unless the book itself is, really beautifully bound, it has, some sort of embossing, and, really pretty, inlay to it, why would you take off, a cover on this? Because look at that. Beautiful, aesthetic, wonderful. Yeah, so the reason why I say that is the reason why I don't read this one as often as I read my Doubledays editions is because this is in much better quality. Even, the jacket is very minimum wear. And this one literally has several loose pages, so it's always a little bit of a... I love my books, but when they get ratty, I'm just I'm not sure if I want to read you because I don't want to ruin you, And I try to have the philosophy that things are meant to be used, but it's hard. So, I still love this, the story itself. Basically, like I said, Miss Polyphex goes to Bulgaria, and essentially what happens in the last half of the book is that basically all of the sort of threads of the stories come together, and she decides to go for jailbreaking, because, why the heck not? And that's one thing I really like about Dorothy Gilman, is that she can really create a fascinating and intriguing plot that can actually hold tension and suspense for a really long time. So, this is also one of the nice ones, is that this is one of the few books that I've read of hers where she doesn't get kidnapped. And you're thinking, what right? She gets kidnapped, she gets kidnapped a lot. She almost gets kidnapped in this book, but then she doesn't. And I'm not going to tell you why. But just to encapsulate the sort of madcap plot that happens, I want to read you this one sentence which encapsulates the story, but hopefully in no way spoils it. But it might, so if you don't want to know any spoilers, close your ears for the next 15 seconds, okay? Did you hear that? I certainly did, sir, and eavesdropped as well. I sent her to Bulgaria to deliver 8 passports, Carstairs said, looking stunned. How in the hell did she end up putting General Ignatov in prison, corrupting our last agent of Sofia, and resurrecting a dead American? That's some good shit. I also just love, lists like that, where you're like, what? But if you've read the thing, you know what's going on, because, bitch, that's my aesthetic. Yeah. If I was going to rate this, I'd probably give it 4 out of 5 stars. I liked the story, it was enjoyable, but at the same time, it just didn't also hit me the same way that a lot of the other books in the series did. I think if you were getting to Miss Polyphex, this is still a solid read in the series, but at the same time, it's never probably going to be my favorite book in the series. I never really noticed it, but the reading is very fluid. It works it flows as a book. And I feel like some books is really hard to get into, or it's more, I guess, dense reading. But even though there's a lot of stuff that happens in here and it's all very well written, The book is always very easy to consume, which I like. It's easy reading, but it's also very, I guess, satisfying reading at the same time. And I realized that I'm gushing about a book series that barely anyone's ever heard of or enjoys, but it's like, I love this series. And being able to really read a book that I don't read that often because of, like, its, I guess, condition, I think it was nice to pick it up for, like, this sort of special occasion. I'm probably not going to do much else today. I am going to get in and try to finish a few chapters of A Clockwork Orange today because even though this, book is only 180 pages, it's dense as a motherfucker. And if you don't believe me, I'm just going to show you the index section, which, yeah. So, similar to, I guess, Watership Down or 1984, there is a variety of slang terms, all of which are sprinkled quite liberally throughout this entire book. So that was about 7 pages of index terms, some of which are used only a couple times. I remember the first time that I actually read this book, I didn't know there was an index in the back. And so I got 4 chapters in, and I was just trying to decipher what they meant by everything for context. And then I looked in the back and it was just oh, I see. Luscious glory means hair, or privodite means to lead somewhere. And I'm thinking it's yeah. I like thick, nerd shit like this, where there's so much freaking slang, but it's at the same time, damn boy, can they speak English? And they are speaking English, but you know what I mean. So, I think I'm gonna really enjoy this, because I remember that when I first got into this book, when I got past, kind of the writing style, I was hooked. It was so intense. And so I'm just going to, have to, retry some old territory, watch him murder and rape all those people, and they get murdered and raped mind-wise. So, it's going to be some fun shit. Oh, also, I'm going to be baking an angel food cake, so I'll try to read that, in the downtime, but I'll try to also, film that a little and, put that little, montage shit up there, because I know you like that. I know what you like, and it's that. So, now, guys, I'll update you at the end of the day, just to let you know, okay? Hey guys, it's about 10 right now. As you can see, I got a lot redder. So, first of all, you get to see my nips. There you go. Second of all, you get to see my first-degree sunburn. I'm about 50 pages into Clockwork Orange right now. And I like it, obviously. It's still just as good as I remember. I just been having a really hard time really getting into it today. I'm a little disappointed in that, but I have read, a lot. I read, about 8 chapters, or I guess more, since I think it was on chapter 2 yesterday. It's Such a Fun Age. I literally finished the book today, so I'll get through this. It's obviously going to, it's definitely, has some really interesting stuff going on in it. The main issue is just, with how dense the writing style is. If you're not really, I guess, motivated to read, it can be a little hard to sort of break through. So I'm thinking tomorrow I'm going to try to do a couple more reading sprints, because I figure, with books that are a little tougher to read, with war games, that made it a lot more fun, because I'm kind of, rewarding myself with, a more, I guess, easily read book. So I'll start, the Kahari Danish Martin tomorrow, and do reading sprints between the two. Anyway, guys, I'm going to see if I can do some laundry tonight, hopefully, but if not, I'm probably just going to watch some Netflix and kind of chillax before bed, because I did a lot today. If you guys want to know how that angel food cake turned out, it turned out okay. Not my favorite, but it is angel food cake, so I succeeded in making that. I'm a bit tired, so I'm going to head out. I'll see you tomorrow on Saturday, and I'll let you know if I make any progress in my books, okay? Hey guys, so it's almost 8 o'clock at night, which, as you can tell, is probably, not the best time for filming. I'm sorry I haven't been filming as, I guess, much in, the end of the week. But at the same time, I mean, this is going to be a long video anyway, since it's an entire weekly vlog, and I don't know how to shut up, so we'll get off. We'll go off, you know. So I got to page, let's see, 77 of Clockwork Orange, just as of today. I'm going to do some reading sprints after dinner, but it's actually going pretty well. So I got through the first part of it. And what's really interesting about Clockwork Orange is that it's divided into 3 separate sections, right? Each were 7 chapters. So in America, apparently, the last chapter, chapter 21, is not usually published. So I don't know if my book has chapter 21 in it. I hope it does. But if it doesn't, I might be reading a kind of slightly different book than, was presented in the original. I think that's really interesting that there is that sort of publication detail where some copies have a published chapter and other ones don't. Anyway, guys, I'm going to keep reading for a little bit because it's going to be a few minutes before dinner. But after dinner, I'm going to do some reading sprints, and I'll be switching between Clockwork Orange and my last book of the reading rush, The Cat Who Ate Danish Murder. I'm also probably not going to finish Such a Fun Age during the reading rush. I'm only about 40% of the way through. So that's your update, my first update for, Saturday? And yeah, let's just enjoy some reading. Hey guys, so it's about 10:45 right now, and I did 4 reading sprints in a row. That was really interesting. And so I want to talk about the progress that I've made on both of my books. So for Clockwork Orange, I got to page 131, so I'm about, I'm gonna say 60% of the way through this book. And you're like thinking, wow, Ryan, there's barely anything. But, I think I've made some pretty good progress tonight. So what's basically happened is that the main character Alex, who's part of a Shriek gang, basically straight up murders a bitch who's a crazy cat lady, basically. And so he gets sent to jail. Jail's awful. He ends up accidentally murdering another person during that time because of just the ridiculous situation they live in and overcrowding and everything like that. And so he gets put into this special program that, they like a weird name like Avocado or something. I'll put the name there. But basically what the program was is essentially aversion therapy. They would show these fucked up snuff films to him while he had his eyes glued open like that, and basically pump him full of chemicals which would make him physically incapable of performing violent acts or even thinking about violence, as it would basically cause a strong Pavlovian response. They use the phrase classic conditioning in the book, but if we're being honest, the accurate term would be aversion therapy, which is a form of classical conditioning, but that's not the point. Essentially, they are brainwashing him to not murder people. So, pretty interesting. And they just casually gloss over the ethicality of brainwashing someone not to murder people. And they're and people are just but wait, does he really have agency if he physically can't make moral decisions? And they're bitch, don't worry about it. We don't fucking care about him. We care about, the prison industrial complex. And I'm just damn boy. This was written in the 70s. That's zesty. So, I'm finished, section 2, which basically is deal with, the prison experience and sort of the treatment. And so the last section is really his adjustment back into society. And so that's going to be really interesting to see what happened and whether or not he stabs a bitch. I think he's not going to stab a bitch, but I feel book-wise, I know what's going to happen. He wants to go out and do some Count of Monte Cristo on, his bastard-ass droogs, because, they betrayed his ass. So, I want to see how that plays out, but it's going to get zesty, and I'll let you know how that ends. Furthermore, I did crack up with the Cat Who Ate Danish Martin today, and I, got about 25% of the way through. I'm on page 54, so, about a quarter, and pretty much what has happened is that, Jim Quillerin, which is just a lovely name to be able to pronounce, has basically gotten a new beat, as a newspaper man. That's a phrase, as a journalist. That's the term that is used. And basically he is now writing a Better Homes and Gardens style supplement for his newspaper as a way, as sort of this sort of Sunday paper experiment. And so I'm trying to think. So he's getting into the world of interior design, and he just this article on this beautiful mansion, old money out wherever. This guy's a jade collector, so he collects a lot of jade. And so basically he right now, and after the day after he publishes the article, or 2 days after or something like that, the place gets robbed, and everyone is just that Mexican servant did it. I'm thinking, yeah, that's right. Blame the help that can't speak English. Yeah, that's chill. But so Quillen thinks, it's probably not that guy, because he seemed pretty chill, and he was also maybe a teenager, so honestly that's a bit sketch. But we don't really know what's happened yet, and we're not even sure if. And so that's one thing I really love about the Cat Who series, is just Braun is really good at kind of getting into a sort of, I guess, it's one of those crime procedural novels where they go and episodes where they'll go into this society or this sort of culture and really try to explore through the lens of the murder mystery, which is a really fun and fascinating concept. Somebody dies and it's just hey kids, we're going to experience vamp culture and react and also solve a murder, and you're okay, whatevs. And so it's kind of that with the Cat Who Ate Danish Martin, even though it's all about interior design, which is thinking, that's probably why they use the phrase Danish Martin. And so right now he's basically at this big party and he solved one of his problems. Because I do like when books are just like, I got 4 problems, but a bitch ain't one. And it's like, I ain't got no chick, I ain't got no house, I ain't got no ties, and bitch, I need to make money, so I need this job. And so it's like, I'm loving this, like, that whole pitter-patter at the back of the storyline because it's some good shit. I haven't, like, read these series in forever, but honestly, these are just, it's slamming, and I'm enjoying it. So, I'm gonna head out for tonight. I know this wasn't the most eventful, like, day of my readathon, but I think I, like, did a decent bit of reading. I enjoyed doing some other stuff. And if I don't finish these tomorrow, we'll have these finished by the end of the week. So, for my first readathon, bitch, I knocked it out of the park. Okay. So, I'm gonna head out. Maybe watch some Criminal Minds. Maybe just, like, fall asleep. So, whatevs. Hey guys, what's up? So this is Sunday. It's the last day of the reading rush. It's around 4 o'clock right now. I just got off work. It was a bit slow, so they didn't need me. I'm just like, okay, that's chill. I work 6 days a week anyway for the foreseeable future, so I ain't bothered. Also, on another note, is that I finished A Clockwork Orange this morning. Nice thing about having a delayed, I guess, start time for, like, your shift. So, it was actually really good. Basically, the ending was just, I'll say intense, but obviously not as intense as the first and second parts, considering how much freaking violence is in this book. It's like, fam, do you want to read a book about violence? Well, then read Clockwork Orange. Do you not like violence? For the love of all that is good and holy, for God and all his story angels, or whatever the fuck they say in this book, don't read A Clockwork Orange. So, basically what happens is he gets in, he realizes that, like, society doesn't want prisoners to, like, come back into society, and he gets the shit beat out of him by pretty much every single fucking person in his life. Also, like, his parents moved on and got, like, a lodger, and his name is Joe, and Joe is a pussy-whipped bitch that needs to mind his own fucking business, and that is just my opinion. Like, bro walks in and Joe's just like, oh, look who it is, Mr. Prisoner. You don't deserve these parents. They're my parents now. Bye, Felicia. And I'm just like, bitch, this ain't your business. Why the fuck are you, like, in here? What the fuck are you saying? Why the fuck do you think you have any right to say things? And I'm just like, honey, maybe you need to step off. This is, as they say, family matters. And I did not like that random fucking character that just, like, lives in his house now, in his room. And I'm just like, okay. Yeah, but basically what happens is that he basically gets some prodigal son shit happening. He pretty much, I guess, like, gets help from one of the guys that he beat the shit out of in the first part of the book. And the guy kind of realizes what's happening, and it doesn't state it, but I'm fairly certain that the guy, like, pretty much just tried to kill the guy by torturing him with the sound of music, which doesn't sound like is a bad thing, but when you've been brainwashed by the state to not enjoy music, it happens. So pretty much, like, the guy gets really despondent and desperate. Those are words I can say. He jumps out a window, he gets, like, some political activism happening, and basically he gets, like, free will reinstated on him, because one of the themes of the book is really the concept of free will, and to a bigger extent, I guess, the implication of whether or not humans are naturally good or evil, so it's interesting. So, that's pretty much the book. I enjoyed it. I'll probably give it around maybe 4 to 5 stars if I'm being honest. So, I have to wait for my ride to take me home now because, yeah, just some logistic shenanigans personal wise, so. And I'll try to finish, like, my last book by the end of the day. Considering that it only, in the half hour that I actually read it yesterday, I managed to get about 25% of the way through. I'm pretty sure I'd only need about an hour and a half to actually finish the book all the way, like, to the end, so I'm pretty sure I can bust that out. And then, like, the rest of the week, the last week of the month is just me editing and shit, so it's gonna be really easy. Anyway, I'm gonna head out and just enjoy some tunes, I guess, like, while I'm waiting, because I finished my pocketbook and what I'm gonna do with my life now. Ooh. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to yet another, false ballsy walking vlog where I talk from my microphones. You're welcome. So, updates, I haven't actually read anything yet, but I realized that I haven't had, a montage today, and I said, fuck it, let's do a montage. I need to go to the bank anyway to cash a check. Of course, then I remember, Ryan, it's Sunday, the bank isn't fucking open. And then I think, oh, I'll just use the ATM. And then I think, Ryan, you dumb fuck, you ain't got a pen. And I'm like, oh yeah, because I was expecting the bank to be open. And so I now own $2 worth of Dollar Tree pens, and I have cashed a check. Also, why the heck did I decide to walk again? I think it was for the exercise, but honestly, did I get any exercise? I literally just walked maybe a mile and a half, so. The good news, let's see, I didn't even listen to any books on the way here. I mostly just put on Amanda Palmer radio and just rocked out to that. Found out the name of this super cool artist. I don't remember her name at the top of my head, but she was one of the chicks in the Moldy Peaches, which is another band I have to check out because apparently it's anti-folk and that shit sounds like it would slap, so we know we got it. So now that I have about 25 minutes walk home from the bank, I'm thinking I'll probably start busting out Such a Fun Age since my phone is one, a little bit of the dying, and two, I haven't really listened to it today. Small issue is I'm pretty sure I accidentally butt played it while I was at work, and so now I have to scroll back and find out which part I was at. And I remember being at chapter 9, but I'm probably a few chapters past that because I listened to it a lot. So I'll have to figure out where I was in the story and then start listening to it and hopefully finish it sometime next week. So when I get home, I'm gonna try to finish out the Can't Wait Danish Modern, bust that out and just a bitch ass reading marathon, gonna get it as this becomes ultimate shaky cam like a shitty war film. So yeah, I'm going to skip ahead to when I'm home and reading books and being a productive booktuber. So thanks, fam. Hey guys, so it's about 10:30 right now on the Sunday afternoons, well, night, you know what I meant. And I just finished my official reading rush. So I am ecstatic. I am just, oh yeah, let's get it. But, let's actually start with the book I read. So The Can't Wait Danish Modern, right? Lillian Jackson Brunn. Really good, just solid mystery. Basically, like I said, it's covering the theft of this jade collection because Jim Quiller, the newspaper guy, it had done this article on it for his Better Homes and Gardens ripoff. And so pretty much he's investigating, he's getting the whole interior design scene, and another murder happens. That's part of the subplot. But eventually, good choice of words, Ryan, discovers what happened to the Joel Heist and all that shit, and he gets a bonus cat for his efforts. So this I believe is the second book in the series, and this is when he gets his second cat, Yum Yum. So if y'all don't know about the series, which I realize I don't really talk about it much, this is basically a huge freaking mystery novel series that basically follows the investigatory matters of a weather newspaper reporter and his two Siamese cats. So bitchy got a second cat, and that's just is what be happening. So things I liked about this book, I think it was definitely solid Brunn. One of the things that I really noticed about her work is that she has this a very good love for language. She likes to use a lot of vocabulary, and she also likes to use a lot of very specific sort of niche terms. So in this one, she uses a lot of interior design terms, a lot of different things as part of the description, as part of the sort of the pattern of the story. And in other books, she will use other terms, especially in the early ones in the series. When he moves to Bumfuck Canada, a lot of the elements that I loved about the sort of the origins of the series, they get thrown out. So this is probably what I'm not going to say this is my favorite book in the earlier part of the series, but it's definitely a solid one. This also has probably one of my favorite young love. I can't talk today. Love interests of his, whose name is Koki, and she is this architect designer lady, and she's real chill. She does health food, and we like her. Like, we stan. A lot of the novels are a bit formulaic. He basically gets a new beat. He basically finds another smoky femme fatale type character, and he's just like, "Hey, little mama, let me holler in your ear," and he's just like, he's himself. And I definitely enjoy the character. It's always some nice and dandy shit. The only small thing that I thought was a little weird in the book was they had this description of this Asian character, and he describes him as Oriental, and then the guy has a very broken English accent, which I'm just like, Bronwyn, not quite loving that. It's like, at the same time, it's like, as I read the book, they do give this side character a bit more description. Like, they reveal that his nationality is Japanese, that he's a, like, chef, and he's, like, considered very, like, high regarded, which unless I like, and it's like, it wasn't the best first impression, especially for a person of color. And I also realized that after reading this book was written in the 60s, that was the correct term for someone who was Asian American. But at the same time, like, reading this book now, it feels a bit strange. This book, I'm going to give it probably 4 to 5 stars. I think this is kind of like, the consistent, like, one for my books. There was a few I really loved. Let's see, what was it? The Bear. That was really good. And I'm trying to think, because I remember rereading another. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. I had to go further to think about it. So The Bear is definitely getting 5 stars. Most of the others are getting 4 stars. The one that I'm rating low is... I'm rating War Games 2 stars because it had a lot of issues, and I just love the movie better, and it just was not really worth my time. And rethinking about it, I've really been considering my reasons for choosing whether something is 2 or 1 stars. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to list Duty or Desire as a 1-star book. Also, just for the matter of this, I'm also deciding to re-rate Have You Seen Me by Kate White, also 1 star. Because with Kate White, there are specific reasons why I rated that 1 star, and that's mostly just 2 really bad issues with the plot and with the characterization. With Duty or Desire, it's really just the writing style. The act of it being more telling than showing, to the point where nothing really happens. And with just, I guess, a lot of the repetition. Like, weirdly enough, I wish there was less inner monologue for the characters, since the book was 90% inner monologue, and that's just too much, especially when the characters aren't really developing, especially when they really tread over the same ground over and over and over and over again. And it's just, I didn't enjoy the book, and I say to myself, Ryan, if you did not enjoy this book in the slightest, if you gained no sense of pleasure or enjoyment or entertainment from this book, you can't in reasonable consciousness give this book 1 star. I mean, like, more than 1 star. And I'm just like, I said to myself, like, Ryan, that's really how I need to rate it. Because, yeah, I keep in mind a lot of things when I try to rate books, even though I play fast and loose with the ratings. It's not something that I put a great emphasis on, because I don't really think it's that big of an indicator or significance for a lot of people. For me, I will read a book if it has an interesting premise, and, like, if it was, like, a generally positive review. But I'm not really one that pays close attention to the sort of quantifiable aspects of reviews. I think it's important to have a quantifiable aspect, because I think that humans in general need some sort of statistical framework to really conceptualize a lot of things. But at the same time, I don't think that it is the end-all, be-all of a review, nor should it be, as there's a lot that can fall between the cracks with a basic 5-point grading scale. Yeah, so even though I really am just like, Britta Taylor, you get that bread queen, like, I did not enjoy the book. I'm going to have to give it 1 star. So I think I did pretty well for this reading rush. Like, just wrapping this up, I read 7 books, and this is not the right number. There we go, 7 books. And I got 50% of the way through on Such a Fun Age. I'm going to have to turn it in tomorrow, but I love it so much. I just love every aspect about it. The characters are really fleshed out. They're really funny. And one thing I really love is just it's such a sympathetic character from Alix, who I wasn't expecting to like. Because when you first see her, you're thinking, oh, it's one of those rich white bitches. I bet she named her baby Brangelina or something, like a Two Broke Girls skit. But like you get into like her personality, and it's such a sympathetic and such a deep character because she really has not a lot of shade, to be honest. Dear Lord, that girl's salty, and that's kind of presented as a flaw, which I like. That you can have a bitchy character, but then the right can also be like, hey, sometimes you too bitchy, because that's nice, that's depth, that's nuance. But it's like she really has a very, I guess, discerning eye about like a lot of the aspects of her sort of privileged, affluent life. But she also like has a lot of depth and a lot of sympathy, I guess, as a character, which I like. And that's actually something that really surprises me because I have a really hard time just connecting to a lot of rich people or really just middle class people. There's a joke out there that says, that there's a shrinking middle class when every time you go to read Death of a Salesman, you think he's a bit of a whiny bitch. And honestly, like, that hit me right in the feels. But yeah, it's like she's such a nuanced character, and I just really, really love her. I also like Amira, and basically the characters are great. That's really just an be all, and I'm not really finding a good friend in the conversation on it. But it's just, everything about it is just really impactful. I love how the characters interplay. I love some of the drama, and I really love how you get a lot of different perspectives about each of the characters and how the characters see each other. And it provides just this great amount of almost dramatic irony that just is so satisfying. It's really hard to define the book as a genre-wise. Really, it's contemporary, but there's not a good descriptor past that. Like, the general basic setting that is set in, like, modern day Philadelphia. But I love the female centric, like, storylines. I love the characters, and I really want to finish this book. Hopefully, like, whenever I can get it back from the library, because it's going on hold. So, really great pick. If I had to, like, rate it, because I'm only halfway through, so I'm not going to give it, like, a real rating, but tentative rating wise, 5 out of 5 is great. Like, I'm loving every minute I'm listening to it. And I'm also listening to the audiobook, so it has this really great voice actress who I can't remember the name of, but she always reminds me of Rilo Kiley, which is like a band, but her name isn't Rilo Kiley. It's just something that sounds slightly like Rilo Kiley. And the power of editing will teach you the ways. Anyway, guys, I've rambled on long enough, and I realize this video is like probably super fucking long because I never shut up and I'm bad at editing, but I had a lot of fun. I've never done a readathon before. I've never done a reading rush before, and I'm kind of a bit jazzed because I'm just like, ooh, baby, look at my wrap up. You gonna be some the thick boys, okay? So it's gonna be fun. Also means I need to update my bullet journal tomorrow because I have a busy week ahead of me, but it is what it is, fam. It is what it fucking is. So, anyway, guys, I hope you have a good night's sleep because, like I said, it's late for me. And, party hardy. Remember, kids, wash your hands, tell your loved ones you love them, live your best life and do better every single day. This is going to be False Bulls 1, 2, 3, and 9. Oh, you know it, baby. Signing off.